For over 50 years, there's been this one simple observation that's been the engine behind our entire digital world. It gave us everything from smartphones to supercomputers. But now, that engine is sputtering out. So let's dive in and figure out exactly why that is.
So, what is this engine we're talking about? Well, Moore's Law, it's not some law of physics or anything like that. It all started as a simple observation back in 1965 by Gordon Moore, one of the co-founders of Intel. He just noticed a trend, predicted it would continue, and in doing so, he basically handed the entire tech industry a roadmap. And it became this incredible self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It was a target everyone aimed for, and for half a century, they nailed it. Every single time.
And you can really feel the optimism of that era in this quote from Moore himself. I mean, think about it. For decades, the industry just delivered on this promise with this breathtaking predictability. Computers got smaller, they got faster, and they got cheaper all at the same time. This relentless exponential improvement is pretty much what built the modern world as we know. But, well, that golden age of just easy exponential gains, it's coming to an end. That predictable path forward has been blocked. And it's not just one thing. There are three huge fundamental barriers that are bringing this incredible run to a grinding halt. All right, first up, the heat problem. Yeah, our chips are literally getting too hot to handle. But for a long, long time, this just wasn't an issue. And that was thanks to a crucial partner that worked hand in hand with Moore's Law. Okay, so that partner was something called Dennard scaling. And you can pretty much think of it as the free lunch of computing. It was a beautiful thing. The physics was pretty simple. As transistors got smaller, they could run on lower voltages. Lower voltage meant less power, and, this is the key part, less heat. This was the absolute secret sauce that let engineers pack more and more transistors onto a chip without having to worry about it, melting. Okay, but take a look at this timeline. You can pinpoint the exact moment that free lunch ended. See that? Around 2006, Dennard scaling it stopped working. Poof, gone. Transistors kept getting smaller, but they didn't get any more power efficient, and the consequence? We slammed right into a power wall. And that is the reason why the raw clock speed of your computer's CPU has barely budged in over a decade. It's stalled out because we just can't cool the things down.
Okay, so we can't just crank up the speed anymore. But wait, can't we just keep packing in more and more transistors? Well, that leads us right into problem number 2, and this one is even more fundamental. We are physically running out of room.
3 nanometers. Just let that number sink in for a second. 3 nanometers. That is the size of the smallest transistors we're making today. I mean, it's a scale that is almost impossible for our brains to even comprehend. And if that wasn't crazy enough, here's where it becomes truly mind-bending. A modern transistor is now barely wider than a single strand of your DNA. We're not just building electronics anymore, you guys. We are literally operating at the atomic level. We're arranging matter in ways that used to be pure science fiction. And this really gets to the hard truth. And NVIDIA's CEO Jensen Huang puts it really bluntly. We can keep finding clever ways to shrink transistors, but we can't shrink atoms. There's just no way around it. The road of just making things smaller and smaller is coming to an end. All right, but let's just pretend for a second. Let's say we could somehow cheat physics and manage all that heat. There's still a third massive wall we'd slam into. Money. Pushing these boundaries has become unbelievably, staggeringly expensive. And this is where we get hit with a kind of economic pincer movement. While Moore's Law said chips get better, this other observation, often called Rock's Law, pointed out that the factories needed to build those chips were getting exponentially more expensive. Today, a state-of-the-art chip factory, we're talking tens of billions of dollars. That's a price tag so high that only a tiny handful of companies on the entire planet can even afford to play this game anymore. So when you've got these 3 massive challenges, heat, physics, and cost, it's no surprise the industry is kind of split. You've got people like NVIDIA's CEO just flat out saying Moore's Law is dead. But then you have others, like the CEO of Intel, who insist, nope, it's still alive, it's just evolving. But look, you can argue about the wording all day. What everyone agrees on is this: the game has completely, fundamentally changed. So, if the old road is closed, where do we go from here? What comes next? Let's take a look at the next chapter for computing.
And this quote from MIT's Charles Lyserson just sums up this new reality perfectly.
Think about it. For decades, performance was practically a freebie. You could be a sloppy coder because you knew that in a couple of years, the hardware would get so much faster it would just clean up your mess for you. That whole era, it's over. From now on, every little bit of performance gain has to be earned the hard way. It's got to come from sheer ingenuity.
So where are those gains going to come from? Well, researchers are pointing to 3 key areas. And the big idea is, instead of always digging down to the transistor level, innovation is now moving up the computing stack. We're talking about writing software that is just radically more efficient. We're talking about developing brand new algorithms from the ground up. And, this is a big one, designing specialized hardware that's hyper-optimized to do just one thing and do it incredibly well.
So what you're seeing is this fundamental pivot in how we even think about progress. The focus isn't just on brute force speed anymore. It's not about just making things smaller. Now, it's all about efficiency. It's about parallelism, about creating custom chips for very specific jobs, like the massive, specialized processors that are powering all the AI stuff you hear about. It's about making our entire system smarter, not just the components smaller. So as this historic chapter of Moore's Law closes, it leaves us with a really big, kind of electrifying question. I mean, for 50 years, we basically had this abundance of computing power that just kept growing and growing. Now, we're facing scarcity. So will this new constraint actually force us to be more creative, to be more clever? Could it spark a whole new wave of innovation that we can't even imagine right now? The era of easy answers is definitely over. But the next era of computing, it's just getting started.